So, imagine waking up and you find out the public highway you used to commute every single day has just been seized overnight.
Right, just completely taken over.
Yeah, and turned into this militarized, high-tech toll booth. Suddenly, you're paying extortion rates just to get to work. Welcome to today's Deep Dive. I'm your host.
And I'm your resident analyst. Really glad to be here.
Today, we are unpacking a comprehensive intelligence report on the ongoing 2026 U.S.-Israel-Iran war. We want to see how that exact highway scenario just happened to the Strait of Hormuz, turning a shared global choke point into a contested kill zone, and what that means for you.
Yeah, the sheer scale of the disruption in this report is staggering. I mean, to understand how this global highway was hijacked, we really have to look back at the catalyst, which was Operation Epic Fury on February 28th, 2026.
Right, and I'm honestly struggling to understand how that operation backfired so badly. I mean, the report notes that the U.S. and Israel launched an overwhelming 900 strikes in just 12 hours.
Yeah, just a massive offensive.
Exactly. It was a decapitation strike that successfully killed Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. Usually you wipe out the leadership like that and, well, you expect a surrender.
You would think so, but instead, they got stronger. Because instead of folding, Iran's IRGC took total control of the state under Khamenei's hawkish son, Mojtaba.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Right. And they realized they just couldn't survive a state-on-state conventional naval battle against the U.S., so they completely abandoned traditional naval tactics.
Which led to what the report calls naval guerrilla warfare.
Right, exactly. They leaned entirely into this asymmetric mosquito fleet.
Which totally flips the whole concept of U.S. naval supremacy on its head. It's like, I don't know, trying to put out a forest fire with bottles of designer water.
That is a great way to put it.
Because you have the U.S. firing a $2 million interceptor missile to shoot down a cheap, like, $2,000 drone.
Yeah, and even when the U.S. technically wins that tactical engagement, Iran is winning the overall economic war of attrition. They are bleeding the U.S. Navy dry using these cheap AI-driven drone swarms.
And dropping those unrecoverable sea mines directly into the shipping lanes, too.
Exactly. And because Iran knew they couldn't win a traditional shootout, they shifted to economic strangulation, which brings us to what the sources call the Tehran toll booth.
Right. They started extorting $2 million per ship just for safe passage and demanding payment in yuan or crypto, right?
Yeah, so they could completely bypass the U.S. banking system. And if you are listening to this is not just geopolitical chess, you know. This hits your wallet directly.
Because oil transits through the Strait plummeted. The report says it went from 20 million barrels a day down to just 3.8 million.
A massive drop. That supply shock spiked crude to $150 a barrel almost instantly, which means you are feeling it at the gas pump right now.
Absolutely. But there is a quieter and arguably more critical bottleneck here involving tech. The blockade trapped Qatar's liquid helium exports.
Right, and Qatar produces about 33% of the global supply of helium.
Which, just to be clear, this isn't for party balloons. This is a non-renewable resource that is absolutely vital for manufacturing semiconductors and running AI hardware.
Exactly. Without that helium, the production of the microchips in your next smartphone or the hardware driving the tech stocks in your retirement portfolio, it just grinds to a halt.
Wow.
Yeah, you cannot just easily source a third of the world's liquid helium from somewhere else overnight.
But wait, if the strait is blocked, why can't we just take a detour? You know, move the oil and the resources over land.
Well, the physical geography is pretty stubborn. I mean, bypass infrastructure does exist, like Saudi Arabia's East-West pipeline.
Right.
But that physically maxes out at around 7 million barrels daily. You just cannot shove the 20 million barrels that used to flow through the strait into a 7 million barrel pipeline.
So the physical detours fail, the supply chains dry up, and war risk insurance premiums for these ships surge by, what, 15,000%?
Yeah, up to 15,000%. The global economy is choking. And that forced this massive diplomatic showdown at the April Islamabad talks.
Which, according to the report, ended in total collapse.
Total collapse. The U.S. demanded an unconditional clearing of the waterway, while Iran demanded total sanctions relief and sovereign control over the strait.
And following that failure, the U.S. initiated a complete naval blockade of Iranian ports, leaving us with this darkly absurd legal stalemate.
It really is.
Because the report highlights two heavily armed, nuclear-capable powers passionately debating maritime law. The U.S. insists the strait falls under transit passage.
Meaning ships have a protected legal right to pass through freely.
Right. While Iran is arguing for innocent passage, which is basically a legal loophole allowing them to arbitrarily block any ship they decide is a security threat.
They're literally arguing over dictionary definitions while the global economy burns around them.
It is surreal.
It is. And I think the ultimate takeaway from the sources for you, the listener, is that the post-Cold War era of guaranteed secure maritime trade is over. Passage through global choke points is no longer a given right. It is now a transactional security commodity. State-on-state naval dominance has been rendered obsolete.
Not by superior firepower, but by cheap, decentralized economic extortion. The highway is permanently tolled, which permanently alters the cost of your energy and your tech devices.
Exactly.
Which leaves you with this to think about. If a vital global choke point can be privatized overnight by crypto tolls and AI drone swarms, what is next?
It is a scary thought.
Because shared global commons, like perhaps the physical infrastructure of the internet or even low Earth orbit, will be weaponized into a toll booth next.